Forgive and forget, they say. You live and learn, they say. Well, I'll tell you one thing. 5 years ago today, we were having our freedoms taken away from us. We were told that if we didn't stay at home until they said that we could go out, we'd only allow an hour's exercise walk a day, and that if we didn't get jabbed and wear a mask, that we were going to kill Granny, and that we were basically the worst pieces of shit to ever walk the face of the earth. There were people in the media, people on TV, people in positions of fame, shall we put it, that were saying that anybody who hadn't taken the vaccine that got ill should have literally been left outside the hospital to die. This was the attitude of many of them. Piers Morgan, Esther Ranson, and many other famous celebrities all over the world. These people basically were saying that if you didn't take every jab that the government demanded of you, that you were an evil piece of shit and you deserved nothing more than to die a miserable death. Now, these people have slightly recanted since then, but the only protection that I could see that that vaccine gave was to the people who made it and distributed it. Because one thing I have learned is that most people didn't actually die of COVID. They died with something else and they had traces of COVID. And let's be honest, the testing for COVID was completely flawed, and the person who produced it said that it wasn't actually designed for that application. And then the people that presented the masks, they were the ones that sold it, said that actually it didn't do a damn thing. But no, nevertheless, I mean, people like me who refused to wear the mask lost their jobs. Now, there's still some of them out there, some of these die-hard lunatics that believe that they need to get the very latest vax. Some of them are on their 6th or even the 7th vaccine. But if you look at how many people worldwide went through the roof with cancer, aneurysms, heart attack, strokes, and numerous other things that were brought on by this vaccine, that you could have called it, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Holocaust. Because it was, and I think truly, it was there to diminish the numbers. I mean, let's remember, the people that produced this vaccine, some of them, have been binned off out of countries because they had produced other vaccines which had sterilized people, given people birth defects that did have kids, and in many places just killed population. You know the one I'm on about, that ended up making a computer, then made an antivirus for the computer, kind of ironic, and then all of a sudden overnight became a person in the medical industry that then produced vaccines for illnesses that they had envisaged coming 5 years prior to it. I remember the guy standing up and saying what we're going to have in 5 years' time is this. And they're still peddling that shit, and they're still predicting another mass pandemic. Now, the only pandemic that I could see was the pandemic of stupidity. But don't forget, since then, they have enacted all of these different laws. So, put it another way, if there is another bullshit pandemic, then there is an organisation that can take over the running of certain countries who've signed up to it, and basically run those countries until allegedly this next load of bullshit passes. It's amazing. And it was so divisive, right, that it split families up on opinion. I mean, there's some people that just didn't fall for this shit. And I'll be honest, I did at the beginning. The first 3 weeks of seeing that grainy footage, but I was quite naive at the time. I mean, we've certainly come a long way since then. But I was watching this grainy footage over in China where they were lobbing these body bags into the back of these vans and they were spraying down the streets and all this stuff. And for a short while, I believed it. But then when I realised that they were saying about all of these deaths, etc., etc., and I'm like, bloody hell. So we'll start seeing dead bodies in the street then, won't we? No, we didn't. And I didn't get to see any deaths, all right? Oh, one thing I did know is that since they've put the jabs out, I know of at least 8 people personally who have died prematurely. Also, when you look at the excess deaths for those years, there weren't any. Work that out. But at the time, the flu, that took a few years off, didn't it, the flu? And numerous other illnesses took time off. And the main cause of death at that time was written up to be COVID-19. So if you got hit by a bus, but you'd had COVID-19 in the last 3 weeks or so, you died of COVID-19. It was also said that if you were put down your death certificate that you had COVID-19, you didn't need an autopsy, which meant you didn't have to go through the stress and the upset of Granny being dissected to find out exactly what she died of, and that you could basically bury her quicker so that you could then deal with the misery and the upset of the loss of a family member. Or was it the case that they knew damn well that the people hadn't actually died of what they said they had, and better to have no autopsy and a cremation so there's no evidence? And then they built these super prisons, which haven't been used yet. And all of them, by the way, I think there's about 6 that I know of, massive, they're like little towns, and they all got crematoria. Because what was going to happen is they were on about taking people into protective custody, and if they died within these prisons, then no autopsy was needed and they could cremate them. Does this sound a little bit suspicious to you? It's starting to sound very much like, well, the way they dealt with people in the Lubyanka back in the days, you know what I mean? Interrogate, exterminate, and get rid of. Well, don't think this is ever over, all right? You lot might have woken up a bit to it, but they'll come along with the next load of bullshit and they'll tell you that if you don't go along with it, you lose your job again. Who knows what else you'll lose? Or they might lock you up in one of these super prisons, and oh, who knows, you might die of the illness in there, and well, there'll never be any proof to say otherwise because you'll be cremated for health reasons on new laws that they brought about. So just remember, I have not forgotten what they did. Not just that, they turned many people, especially the youth of today, into people that can't deal with social situations because they were locked away for so long. During the time that they should have been getting along with each other and speaking to each other and building up their social skills, they were locked away. Anyway, I'm going to get on and I'll see you in a bit.